recording back going. Let me get back on here. Yeah, I don't see Brian yet. Let me re-add. Well, I'm actually not in yet, so let's see here. Boy, that was annoying. That was freaking annoying.
It was annoying.
Yeah, suddenly it went beep, and power went out for a bit. Computer stayed on for a little bit. I think this battery backup might be showing its age, but because it didn't last very long. But but everything else had to reset, including the router, which I guess it did. Okay, so
let me know if I need to get out and come back into the Zoom.
For some reason, it's not actually opening the Zoom. Why? Open Zoom app.
Oh, there we go.
There we are. Okay, so it got me right in.
Excellent.
Which means you should be showing
that
up.
we left off with me talking about TikTok muting my videos. So I'll pick back up there.
Hilarious.
I accidentally had this, this going, and I think that's what killed the stream. I think I turned off power to
Did you snap?
half the country with this. I snapped.
You snapped. See, this is the problem. You snapped. So sorry, everybody listening at home. You noticed a weird break there. That was me losing power very briefly, and now I'm back. And Amy, you were right in the middle of talking about how Discord, was it Discord or who was somebody's muting you? Not Discord, TikTok.
Yeah.
TikTok.
So I made a video with Peepers puppets dancing around to the TMS theme, and TikTok muted it, and I don't understand why, because it's Eric Van Skyhawk's music theme. Mm-hmm. I there's nothing, and you gave it to me, so I'm like, what? But it said it was a copyright violation. So anyway, I'm going to Brian.
I know why. I just realized why. Do you want to know why? I just figured it out.
Yes,
Eric.
I do.
So even though Eric gives us full rights on that thing, well, this doesn't make sense though, because YouTube doesn't mute it. Well, whatever. But he's technically released the track on an album that is available on like Spotify and stuff like that, Apple Music. So you can get the ELR theme in a couple of ways. But that should mean that YouTube should tell me every time that I'm using it in violation. Right. So the fact that TikTok is, who knows, man? They're just weird.
Yeah, I think it's very weird. I think their bot just says, "Hey, this is not a sound in our approved list of sounds," quote unquote.
Yeah.
So
for sure.
We're just gonna mute it.
Well, I'm gonna play it now for the chat to see it. So people at home, you're not gonna be able to see this, but these are some peepers playing some fun business. So here it goes. You know what my favorite thing is the one
the occasional chuck arm.
Yeah, well, I like that too, because you can always tell how hairy it is. But the one of these peepers has green
green
eyes. Yeah, so they blend into the
yes.
green screen. That's pretty great. Anyway, yeah, screw TikTok. They don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Although
I posted it. I posted a link to it to the Discord. I'll see if YouTube will let me put it up, and I'll post it to the Frog Pants Facebook group also, so
there you
people
go.
can see it.
So we're not going to miss it. Well, that's awesome, Amy. Always good to talk to you. Sorry about the weird glitch, and
no problem.
May your week be better in all the right ways, and may we see you next week in the same capacity as we see you now.
Oh, well, you will see me on Monday, because I am going to come and
you're going to be part of the deal.
Yeah,
sweet.
Good.
Yes.
No, that's good. We can use your dastardly tricks in the game of Among Us. You're pretty sus already. It's Amy Robinson, everybody. Red Fraggle 3, wherever you can find her. We'll see you later. Bye.
See ya.
All right. Oh, I hate disruptions like this because I feel out of whack.
I do too. Yeah.
All right. Let's see here. Where the frick are we? Oh, you know what? We have time for one news story. So we're going to do one.
Okay. Well, all right.
Yeah, that's how it's going to go if I can find it. Where is it? Is this it? It's the news, and it's brought to you by
Under the Library is an actual play podcast of Call of Cthulhu mature. Oh, let me rephrase that, because I thought that was going to be like a subtitle of it. Yeah. Under the Library is an actual play podcast of Call of Cthulhu, mature themes, immature people. If you'd enjoy watching Silence of the Lambs while roasting marshmallows in your furry suit, catch Under the Library anywhere you get your podcasts.
Very, very nice.
That's very cool. Very cool.
Some ancient poop revealed that the builders of Stonehenge like to eat. and what they
Okay.
like to eat, rather. So now we know what they ate. All right. We still don't know how Stonehenge happened. We don't know how they got it
we
done.
don't know like how they got those big rocks over there or anything like that. But we know what they ate. And
We know
that's
what
half
they
the battle.
ate. Right. And maybe that'll prove we'll know they're aliens for sure. Who knows?
I mean, wasn't it fish and chips? I'm assuming it's fish and chips.
It's almost always fish and chips. Ancient poop found at the side of the prehistoric village near Stonehenge. You've been there. You've been right
Yeah,
there.
I have been there. I've been there twice. Once as a 16-year-old, 15-year-old turning 16 with my dad. And then Tina and I went back there in 1998.
Yeah.
And we spent too much time at the restaurant in the close town, which I think is Chichester.
Is it
I might be
Chichester?
wrong about that. And we spent too much time in there. There's like a mummified hand holding a set of cards that the story is that it was cut off.
Oh, right.
Yeah. And then I got accosted by a Romani or a traveler. I'm not going to use the other term. That's the negative term. And she said she was cursing me.
Oh.
And we spent too much time in that town. We got to the bus and realized, oh my God, Stonehenge closes in 30 minutes. And so we got to Stonehenge and we sprinted around the circumference of Stonehenge and we stopped Salisbury. That's it. Thank you, TRPW. We sprinted around Stonehenge and we stopped at all the cardinal points, north, south, and east, and took pictures of Stonehenge as we ran around.
Wow. I remember this story, and I remember thinking,
Yes.
You're in there. It's not like you're going to go, man, it's okay. We'll do it next time. Who knows the next time you're going to be over there, right?
Yeah, who knows? I mean, we definitely are going to go back to England at some point. We love Old Smoke. We love that part of the world.
Did Tristan go with you as a baby, or what happened there?
No, he's never been. So if we go again, we absolutely have to take Tristan.
Yeah, he'd love it. Well, anyway, here's the deal. They feasted on the internal organs of cattle. That's what they ate.
Because that's what you do.
Not just their meat, but their intestines.
So haggis, basically, right?
Yeah, kind of, except cattle in this case. But yeah, several pieces of fossilized poop, which scientists call coprolites.
Corporalites?
They should call it
Coprolites?
crapolites. That's what
They
should call it.
should. Yeah.
He's were unearthed from a refuse heap at the settlement known as Durrington Walls, just 1.7 miles or 2.8 kilometers from Stonehenge. Village dates back to around 2500 BC, when much of the imposing document in southwest England was constructed. 5 pieces of poo-poo, from one human and 4 dogs, were found to contain eggs of parasitic worms. So they had parasites. It's a bummer.
Yeah.
The human poop and 3 of those dogs contained the egg of a capillarid worm. I think is how you say it. Identified by their lemon shape. The presence of this type of worm indicated the person had eaten the raw or undercooked lungs or liver from an already infected animal, which would result in parasitic eggs passing straight through to the digestive system and then, feasting on the human. According to the new study of the fossils. These worms infect cattle and other ruminants, because that's what they're a ruminant, suggesting that eating cattle was the most likely source of the parasite. The study says dogs may have also fed on leftovers, is how they got it. However, bones dug up from the trash heap suggested the cattle weren't the most commonly consumed animals. Some 90% of the 38,000 bones unearthed were from pigs and 10% cattle. So they were mostly pork people.
That's right. A little pork, a little brisket, and and they were still they were refining their haggis recipe. They didn't have any sheep, but they were refining their haggis recipe.
Yeah,
they were still using livestock, just not the right livestock.
Yeah, they'll get there.
Yes.
And they did get there.
They did.
Yeah. Those parasites are horrible, though. It's basically a lifelong diarrhea time. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, my sister Wendi will be joining us, and we're going to talk about. I got to remember what we did on here. Oh, we got some responses to that whole burnout question. that she asked last time. Remember that?
Oh, right. Yeah, good. Excellent.
Yeah,
I can't wait to revisit that.
Yeah, this will be good. So that's coming up right after this.
Claire, settle down. I know Haggis is Scottish. My goodness.
She's really, look, she's got a bone to pick.
She feels emboldened by that whole whiz-wit thing, the whole cheese whiz cheesesteak sandwich thing that, man, you give her an inch and she takes a mile. She takes a kilometer.
She'll push down that caps lock button and leave it there fortnightly. All right, we're going to take a break. Wendi will be here after the break. The song is what we need for the break. What is the song for the break?
Yeah, all right. It's a band called Flip Turn. These guys, this album captures two stories, one out of Houston and one out of Brooklyn. This is their double single, so they released two singles just recently, Halfway and Brooklyn Baby. Brooklyn Baby!
Brooklyn Baby.
This tells the same tale of a relationship coming apart thread by thread, city by city. So they wanted to release the two tracks together for obvious reasons. The band is called Flip Turn. Here is the song Halfway.
We'll be right back.
My name's Randy Atkins, producer of this video, The Modern Goat. A goat is healthy when it defecates in firm little round balls and has bright brown, clear urine.
This is the morning...
Oops, shit.
This is the morning stream. Hail Hydra!
How lucky we had a guy talking about goats and poop. That's funny.
I know. So
did not plan that.
Referential.
Anyway, hey, remind me that song again that we heard.
Oh, I'd be happy to. This is one half of the double single that Flip Turn just released. This is side one, which is Halfway. You flip that thing over and you get the song Brooklyn Baby, both telling the same tale. It's great. Here, that was Halfway by Flip Turn.
Nice. Hey, Nikki Ackermans, if you're listening to the show, could you probably do some sheep study stuff? What's their history over there? What's the deal with the sheep, man? Did their
What's the actual question you're asking?
I just want to know what the deal is, man. What's the deal with these sheep over there?
What's the deal with sheep?
Give us the up or down on the sheep, you know? Because that's what she does, right?
I think she'd give him the thumbs up. She's a big fan of sheep. It's,
she does like the sheep. That's true.
Her field of study. Maybe like she'd know when haggis was first introduced or something like that.
Exactly. That's what we need to know. We need to know these things. Yeah. We're getting educated here. All right.
Very good. Yes.
Wendi incoming. Let's get her in here.
Sure.
Get her thoughts, her feelings, her takes, her hot takes.
Always, all of these are great things
that she provides. It's like a nutritional brain fart coming down the thing. Let's see if that works out. Everyone knows it's Wendi. Look who it is this morning. It's my sister Wendi, who is also a therapist, psychologist, and someone who helps people with real problems all the time. Comes on Thursdays and does that for you guys right here on the show. Wendi, welcome back.
Thank you.
Nice to have you here. How are you?
Glad to be here.
Yeah. You're very formal today. You feeling very formal?
Yeah, you're a little.
Oh, yeah. No.
No. Okay, not formal. All right.
Sometimes you have to fake it. You're like, yes, let's do this. When you're like, I want a nap.
Yeah, I know, right? And plus, it's later there. It's like no, you're only an hour after us, right? You're 11:05
later.
That's not that
11. Nap time.
Well, kids get off to school, take a freaking nap.
Take a nap, exactly.
I'm going to be doing one of those later today because I couldn't sleep last night. So I think maybe around.
She's 2 nights in a row.
I know,
man.
I couldn't. And you know what's weird? I wasn't even thinking about Wendi this morning, but I woke up this morning and I heard that song in my head. The full version of it going, and I had the whole thing going all morning. I'm whistling it, singing it. Kim's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing.
I wonder what the association is.
I don't know. Must be that Wendy's on today. I have no idea.
Anyway. Here I am.
Yeah, it's good to have you. You put out a question last time we spoke about people and burnout and stuff like that. And we got some answers. We got some replies. And so we're going to read this one here from somebody called A. I think this is the second email you forwarded to me. This is the one about burnout and the pandemic. So I'll read it. It says, hello, Wendy, Scott, and Brian. You brought up the topic of burnout in a recent episode, and I cannot help but email in. The pandemic at large has been an experience. I gained a liking to baking that I've kept up, making bread every week. I kept running through it every single day over 3 years now, and in some ways it gave me focus. At the same time, it's completely hollowed out my relationship with family as they went down the COVID denial route. This comes alongside financial fear early in the pandemic when I had saved a little and worked in an industry that looked uneasy, though that worked out all right for a time until this last fall when our workloads exploded. But we look on to new staff to handle it. Leading to some of our people to leave. At this point, I'm debating leaving the job myself. My position, leaning into work, I have no interest in, and management that is in no way responding to my disinterest. While my physical self has weathered the pandemic all right, negligible weight gain this whole time, mentally I'm very defeated. Is this burnout or something else? And where do you even begin to try and break this down to manageable steps to move on? Any help is appreciated. Somebody named A. Well, that's a good place as any to start.
Jeez, yeah. A lot of stuff to unpack there.
Yeah, and I don't know, there's something universal about parts of the pandemic actually being weirdly beneficial in some ways. I felt this a little bit. I felt like I was able to kind of, look inward a little more, be a little more present with the people in my immediate surroundings, be more mindful of, someone next door needs help, this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But in some larger ways, even in some personal larger ways, boy, have I had one of these kinds of falling outs with a bunch of people. Like just found myself on the opposite end of a weird world, and I just thought, oh yeah. And I don't know if that contributes to this thing that we're talking about, which is burnout or not. But I'll let you take it from there. Where do you want to go with this?
Yeah, well, a couple things. Yeah, there's a lot going on in there. Number one, I just want to answer the A's question.
Yeah.
The big one, is this burnout? So maybe let's distinguish a couple things of different types of burnout, and then we'll get to the one I think is globally happening for most people, or is a little more global. So you can sort of get burned out on anything you're doing, right? So, just the general term, like you hit the wall, right? That's one of our phrases. Like you're just going along and you smack into this wall and you just cannot keep going. You cannot keep doing this thing. So you run out of energy, motivation, all those things can happen in your work, can happen in a relationship, it can happen in a project you started that you used to love and find lots of joy in, and it's just like you can't do it anymore. And so you could, find it in lots of different places. But the very specific thing and the diagnosably problematic thing is ultimately brain burnout, not just like, oh, I'm sick of this project, right?
Yeah.
Because if it's very specific to one thing, you wouldn't also be feeling it somewhere else. Like, I'm burned out on this project, but you still enjoy your social life after work, right?
Yeah.
The challenge is, and Americanism is in particularly problematic in all sorts of ways, but one way in particular is that we work, our lives are so revolved around work. We work a ton. We don't know how to turn that off. It's all like hustling constantly, right? So it is so integrated with who we are, how we see ourselves. I don't know the studies between, sort of different countries with the different ethos, but like, losing a job for someone in America is like a loss of identity, loss of direction, where someone else might see it as, this is not a black and white line by any stretch. But as a general rule, we're kind of, we get our 2 weeks of year vacation. And do you really think that's how humans work well, right? But if you're always hustling and there's always some new thing, right, you always have felt energized up to a certain point, to have that go away can be very scary. Or the loss of a job, or something that like your identity gets thrown because so much of your energy and time go to thinking about work. Yeah. So that's pretty common, that you'll burn out at work and then it affects other things. And then sometimes like a job shift, you might feel totally different and have different experiences. That's kind of what this person's asking. Like, hey, is this my job? or is this brain burnout? So I'm just going to use the term brain burnout for the general burnout.
Okay.
So let's pan. I'm going to break it down to how people experience it and go through what mild symptoms look like for different types of folks, and then just like how we know it's serious. Because I have sort of two theses here. One is, yes, the pandemic is tricky and has caused lots of challenges, and you went from having maybe, you know, some level of social trust with your neighbors and your family members that it's disintegrated more and more, right? And that is a absolute strain on anyone's system, to have a person you thought was sort of safe suddenly saying crazy stuff that makes them feel really unsafe, and like you can't have a conversation, and all of that goodwill you used to have and feel is gone, is traumatic. That's a significant loss. And that can be one relationship, and for some of us that's many relationships that this has happened to, right? So you got to recognize. So my thesis here is like, okay, there's the strain of working constantly, the not having the outlets we used to have to sort of counterbalance some of that. Maybe it is in the job loss during the pandemic, or your industry got shut down, or your, you know, all of the ups and downs for you, you know, so whatever that may have looked like is going to have that impact. But then we also have the social trust that's lost. Then we also have this third thing, and this is kind of underlying a lot of this, I think, is just the trauma that everyone has gone through. And maybe at other times in history, there's more collective sense of that we've all been through something. But, you know, with the ubiquity of how we can see what's happening anywhere in the world, we can get traumatized any minute of any day vicariously through the news, right? Or through hearing some terrible story or whatever it might be, right? So we have this like constant barrage of hard things that we aren't really built well to handle. And if our way of handling it is the usual way of like working harder or ignoring or going down our conspiracy rabbit holes to make us feel like we have power or control, right? Like we're a mess. Like collectively, we're a hot mess. And so this will also add to burnout. So you take anyone who's been through something traumatic, they are not going to be able to just go back and do their job like nothing happened, right? We could see this on an individual level and really understand it. I don't think we have a full grasp on seeing it as a collective. I don't know about you, but Tuesday was really traumatic. It's man. I can't even start talking about it.
The house, the house is a gloomy place right now. I don't know. We should probably have an entire episode on that particular brand of grief, because we haven't talked about it, I don't think, since maybe Sandy Hook, or maybe there's been others, but I feel like it needs to come up again, you know.
It does. It can't be this week for me because I can't handle it.
I know, I can't either. But let's give it a week. Let's give it some time, and then, you know, maybe next week we can hit this thing and I don't know. See,
when you have a fourth grader, it's
I know it's super personal.
Too close to home.
Yeah, I don't even want to think about. Like, I was just looking at my phone. There's a picture of Ann on here, and I'm like, you're almost old enough to go to a school like that. I'm like, freaking geez. Anyway.
Yeah.
So
we'll talk about that later. But it does accumulate. It does have an impact. It does tear down sort of kind of behind the scenes, right? So like doom scrolling is a term that came out, I don't know officially when it did, but that's what everyone was doing for years. And still does to probably some extent. I think people have figured out they can't do it. It's depletes them too much, or, you know, try find ways to balance that sort of steady stream of things that are so outside the normal delusion we all live under. You know, it's like breaking the glass that it protects you from feeling all of that just too frequently, right? So we have like that very immediacy of that social trust being hurt, that larger scale social trust. I find myself like counting in my head all the good people I know. Like it's more. There are more good people than not good people. They're more like it's my brain's just like, here, let's do the math. We can find the math. You know. And I think, you know, we have all our ways of compensating, and a lot of us use escape And a lot of us use, I think we drink a whole hell of a lot more than we ever did, as at least as Americans in the last 2 years. There's lots of studies are going to show we're not okay, right? But we don't necessarily have the skills. We don't have the ways to handle it on a more community-based level, maybe within families, right? So it's tricky. So you take all of this, put this on a person whose job is also such a huge part of who they are, and required for survival because there is no safety net for you, and people are relying on you, and it's chaos. Like there's a lot of chaos. I joked about this, but it feels really apropos. But there was this center, I can't remember if it was the University of Virginia. That's not right. Anyway, don't quote me on that. But it's like a center for peace and communication and reconciliation. And they have so much infighting, they've had to dissolve it. And you're like, what the? It's just really a lot. And so I think if you're not burned out, you have not been paying attention. So I should say that. I think the other thing too is so like A's question with jobs is the previous experience a lot of us have had is you switch a job, things get better, right? Yeah. You end a relationship, things get better. And when it's hitting on all fronts, it can be just, incredibly overwhelming. So what to do about it? So before I get to the good parts, let me just give you the sort of symptomology of what this would feel like. And so, if you're listening at home, just raise your hand every time something sounds like you. But basically, brain burnout just comes from long-term stress. And which is why all of us have, to some extent, have this, because there's been long-term stress. And long-term is anything more than 3 to 6 months, right? Even more than a long weekend really is long, but, technically it's a little bit longer than that. Okay, but what's interesting is introverts and extroverts have really different responses to this. So before I go into that, I don't know what you both identify as here, extro or intro, but have you noticed either the people similar to you or not, how they experience some of these things differently?
Well, I've seen some people just resist it and pretend like they don't have these feelings or don't have this, this altered thinking, and they think that if they do talk about it or show any of that, it just shows weakness. And, so I've seen that from some, or they think it's a weakness that anybody would have any feelings of any kind in the negative. They're just going along like their life's normal. I don't believe that for a hot second, but that's what they portray. Right. So there's that, but then there are other people who, well, let's see, there's a good way to put it. And I'm not trying to throw Kim under the bus here, but she used to be, I was always the stressy one, like our whole marriage. If there was something to stress about, I would be doing it. And Kim would be very compartmentalized about it, very much like, well, we'll deal with what we have to deal with it. Or if it's a problem, we'll take care of it now. Like just kind of a very pragmatic approach to almost everything. And now I can just see it in her face all the time that these things get to her in ways that they didn't used to. Yeah. And so her way of dealing with it, I mean, she's dealing with it, but she is showing outward signs differently than maybe she used to under the same kind of stress. It used to be easier for her to say, well, here are the things I can control, so I'm going to focus on those. And the things that are out of her control, that are away from her, that are far away and nothing really she can do about it, it doesn't mean she doesn't have empathy for those things or, feelings of whatever for those things. But she doesn't, since she knows she has really no control there, she'd be able to kind of put that stuff away and not let it kind of run her day or whatever. But I think now bigger, broader issues that she still can't control probably bug her more or make her, more sad or more stressed or whatever, frustrated. So I've seen that in her, definitely see it myself, but yeah, you see different people reacting in different ways. Some people dig in their heels. Some people open up. Some people, it's part of the problem, right? Is some people saw things like, oh shoot, we got a pandemic. We got to help each other and ourselves. So let's wear these masks. And yet other people go, the government's trying to get to the burn. And, they're all reacting to the same stimulus, but they're also reacting in such different ways, like such diverse ways of reacting to it. And I don't know if I'm surprised by it. Probably shouldn't be. But I was definitely naive to how people would act when we had kind of a crisis like that.
Yeah. Well, and I think any long-term stress, and this is what burnout ultimately exists, is it is such an individual internal response, right?
Yeah.
So at how anyone acts outwardly based on that internal experience, it's going to vary with people. And obviously the world isn't categorized by just introverts and extroverts. There's lots of in-betweens here, right? I would say as a bona fide extrovert, I've become an introvert in some Sweden started that because that is a country of introverts. But just like, oh, wow, I forgot. Like, it's kind of nice to not have to deal with people. Like, I just did never feel that way before. And so I think you can move around on this scale a little bit. But so let me actually get to just the ways this may happen. But they're so different for somebody who's very extroverted and someone who's very introverted that you would never look at those two situations and go, oh, they're both experiencing burnout, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So let me explain. The minor symptoms of burnout are going to look like this in an extrovert. They're going to feel more emotionally erratic or blunted, just like kind of up and down, and just like crying for no reason and feeling like just more roller coastery. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
An introvert might experience as minor symptoms of burnout, slight detachment from life and routine, just kind of a little separating from what normally was just kind of engaging as living life. Okay. So very different responses, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Those are both minor. Okay. So then we get into mild. So an extrovert, the mild brain burnout will look like excessive tiredness and low energy.
Yeah.
And then someone who's introverted, more like lack of motivation, creativity, or drive.
Yeah.
Okay.
Felt a bit of both of those.
I know.
Yeah. Seen shades of that in myself. Like
a little from column A and B there so far. Sure.
Right. I mean, I realize as we talk about this, like I definitely have my version of this. I'm sure you do. I'm sure there's not anyone listening who does not relate to some of these.
Sure.
The grade of severity, I guess, is important too, right? Okay. So here's a moderate brain burnout would look like for an extrovert is feeling angry, sad, or overly emotional, like really feeling all the feelings.
Mm-hmm.
And then for someone who's very introverted, it might feel more like a loss of enthusiasm or feeling withdrawn from everybody.
Yeah.
Sort of. And then kind of a major version of this is a sense of hopelessness, loss of control of life for an extrovert, which I think the pandemic was a perfect example of.
Mm-hmm.
Loss of control of life, right? And then for an introvert, feeling helpless, unable to take action. So this is where I think most people start to cognitively go, I think something's wrong, is when they can't make decisions. They start to forget words. So we have a couple of things that are similar between a trauma response and a burnout response. And I feel like they're intertwined and it's hard to pull these two apart, but if we could do a perfect scenario and they were separate, we have a trauma response and a burnout response to long-term stress, there's a couple similarities, like forgetting words, feeling like you can't make a decision, just kind of some paralysis in ways that maybe you've never experienced before, being able to do something you would normally just do, reaching out to someone, going to do something fun rather than just wanting to curl up and stay in a small cozy space and watch TV all weekend or something, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, especially if that's not just your normal MO, they can show up very similarly. And it's like a safety response, like hunkering down and not putting yourself at risk, right? So they can look very similar. And it's probably because at the core, the brain is in slow trauma or acute trauma of just, you're not okay. You're not getting what you need. And the emailers, like the job situation. And I think a lot of people have experienced this, especially sort of essential workers of just like, yep, we're going to clap for you and cheer for you, but not really give you anything else than that. And you have to be on the front lines. There's military examples of this same thing of just burning through what is there. And then your body does this. This is how it protects itself. It starts to shut down. And burnout is so sometimes that's the first thing we notice is like, whoa, I can't think the same way, or I can't make decisions, right? And then a severe form of this is going to look like depression and anxiety, more so in an extrovert, and depression and chronic fatigue in an introvert. I think the chronic fatigue can go anywhere. But just that, it just zaps all of your energy. So if you were listening to this and you're like, I have that and that.
Yeah.
Just know you're not alone.
Yeah.
So did you guys hear things you have? Obviously the one I said about
well, definitely the tired
lack
thing.
of creativity.
Yeah, for sure.
Fatigue for sure. And a lot of it I was like I was ready to blame on other issues. Like I was ready to go, wow, it's because, this is all depressing and sucks. So you sat around a lot more, or you didn't keep up your jogging routine, or, so that's why you're tired, Scott,
Right.
or whatever. But then when I would be back to doing those things, I would still be very tired and very exhausted and not really sure why. So then your brain starts going, well, maybe it's a medical thing, perhaps, or whatever. And you start catastrophizing that direction, when really it's just, you're just mentally exhausted. And that turns to physical exhaustion. And I don't know, I've come to better terms with it recently, but it's definitely it for me. Like, that's the biggest. If I had anything in this last 2 years to look at and say, boy, that got worse, it's just fatigue. That feeling of just like, ugh, I can't be bothered. I can't do it.
Yeah, that and maybe it's fatigue, but there's been a lot, this week of me realizing I've just been staring at my screen for the last 5 minutes and not doing anything. Like just,
I hate that feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had that before. Where it's just like, I know what I need to do or could be doing, but instead I'm just like, burn. Like you just nothing.
Completely vegged out.
Yeah, I've had that happen before.
Yeah. So very common for, I've had this thought, like, is this just because I'm getting older? Like your brain is trying to find the reasons, right? Like, oh, this must be it. Or, I'm like, is this just perfect timing that I'm this exact age at this exact moment? And then I talked to 20-year-olds who are just like slogging on campus to try to get to their final class. And you're like, oh, it's all of us. It's not an age thing. Probably. So if you take just really quick, what happens at a job that would deplete you so quickly? Like you can imagine being taken advantage of, not getting credit for the work, not getting enough support, has to do the job of 3 people, being told you're like family, and then being treated like garbage. Like there's so many versions of us at work understanding why this burnout would come and why, but then that would be located in your work realm. And for some of you, that may be what's happening. And it sounds like this guy's got on all levels, or this I don't know if the guy, but the social trust breaking down and the work dynamic being really difficult. Like one person leaves, and again, the great resignation, right? Like lots of people changing jobs, lots of people making big changes, I think is really related to this kind of overarching burnout. Because what do? Is we change jobs to try to solve it. And a lot of people are finding they have the same exact problem at the next place. Yeah. Maybe they got a raise, so that feels good or whatever. But, this thing is kind of following everybody around. And so a couple quick things. If you're a perfectionist, you're at much higher risk for this type of thing, for brain burnout, because, the part of you that needs everything to be just right all the time, no one can have that taskmaster forever and not burn out. Like it's a tricky one. And also just basic, reliable, conscientious people, right? If you just don't give a crap, like half this stuff flies right by you. So there are definitely people who are probably not burned out because they're just like, cool, whatever. You can all stress yourselves out, you snowflakes. That's up to you.
Yeah.
And they just aren't feeling it. So
maybe those exist. I'm sure they exist, but boy, do they suck.
Yeah.
Boy, do I not want to be around them. Like people that lack all forms of empathy. I don't want to be anywhere near you. Like not at all.
Yeah.
Go away.
Yeah. Yeah. So then you've got, and I'm kind of focusing more on the work aspect here, but if, your work is really important to your sense of self as a core part of you and how you define yourself, you're at higher risk for this to happen too, right?
Yeah.
It isn't the flexibility of, oh, I can work there or there, and who knows, like it's so important. It's kind of like the perfectionist thing. So this level of intense need from your work or these aspects of your life to provide what they do, which is your sense of self, your worthiness, because you did it all right, raises and praise and all the different things that can happen, might put you at extra risk. And then also people are in caring professionals because they're giving more of themselves. I mean, you may not be aware of this, but all of the, at least here in Minnesota, I'm sure it's everywhere, but just all of the agencies that provide care for adults with disabilities in any form, any programming, elderly care is very in that similar boat. I just cannot, it's just falling apart.
Yeah.
Just not enough people to do the work. They need to pay more, but they don't have the funding and the Medicaid reimbursement. And it's really tough. And so then that goes back on, families or the community as a whole to try to make up for. I mean, it's an incredibly stressful dynamic because the need is there. And that kind of goes back to this. If you don't feel like you've got a network or safety, or people to rely on, it's that social trust thing is powerful, and having that dissolve is scary. So let's talk about solutions. So if I haven't depressed you enough, then
let's do some more.
We're not paying attention.
Yeah.
You're sorry. I apologize. But the answers are annoying.
Yeah.
They're annoying. So get a guess what the annoying answers to how do you deal with burnout is?
Therapy.
I mean, it sounds not so much annoying as it does true. Seems like therapy would be good.
And I would say generally talking to others. Like the other day when a friend of mine and I were trying to plan something, I just said, oh, I just can't make a decision. She's like, I can't make a decision. And that was like this moment where we're like, oh my gosh, are we admitting that neither of us have any control of our lives? It was so therapeutic.
Yeah.
Let's not be alone, right?
Yeah.
So
Right.
talking to others, a therapist can help you very specifically. They're also burned out, by the way, everybody. But they can help you specifically with the perfectionism part or the need to control how to manage that. Like some of the deeper things, like a friend's not going to go deep dive with you. So there's definitely value to that. But there's also value in, commiserating with other people and getting some social support that you may find, in burnout. It's almost like an urge to remove yourself from social support.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a numbness or a fog or whatever. And it's really hard to be like, I'm going to get my friends all together and we are going to have a meeting about this, right? But it really is. And this is why the answers are annoying, is everything is going to require effort and change when you are exhausted and not sure you can do anything, right? So that's what's very frustrating. But it's about building some stuff back into your life. And maybe it was never there, but it needs to be there, of a few things. So we've got this connection to other people and being able to really talk through whatever it is, right? Okay, so there's therapy specifically or talking to others. Okay, any other guesses? What else we need to be doing?
Oh, geez. More. Well, I'm going to do one that Wendi always tells me, or at least for years you have.
Get a book on Amazon.
Well, that's true too. But your thing has always been throw yourself at somebody else in helping somebody. Don't, and I don't
Channel
mean just
it
like
into a positive direction.
Yeah, not even think of it that way. Just like go, so and so needs help, or that school has they have no toilet paper. This is ridiculous, and then just go nuts in trying to help them and kind of forget you for as long as you can. We used to always say that, and you still do, but I don't know if does that still work in this scenario, or am I just
what's
hiding
tricky
it?
about that is if you have the energy to do that, awesome, go for it, because it will give you perspective. And I mean, that's really the power of it. The power is you see someone else's experience that you have not seen, and it changes you, right? And so feeling you're essentially, I'm going to harp on the word social trust because it matters a lot.
Yeah.
You're increasing that between you and that organization, you and that kid you're mentoring, you and that whatever, right? Like you are buying into that social contract with others. And doing something about stuff you care about. And there's a lot of power and energy in that, right?
Yeah.
But one of our challenges, I think, is we're not good at resting, and we're not good at, sort of what do we need to do before we can then go give ourselves completely to something, right? So that's where just being careful. I think most people who are really burnt out can't do that at all. Like that would be an impossibility because they are absolutely out of steam. So it needs to be smaller things maybe, and then maybe leading to that, and it may look like saying yes when everything is screaming no to get social contact, or a friend says, let's go on a walk. We need to move our bodies and have a conversation, and you just want to sleep or say no, making yourself do some of those baby steps as opposed to making yourself do some grand gesture, I think, because it will take some forcing yourself to do some things. So some of our general things that are helpful for burnout is things that improve flexibility, right? So a therapist would help you work through your thinking that is not flexible, that has kept you sort of only perceiving your situation in a particular way. Or a lot of people feel trapped, right? They feel trapped in their jobs or their relationship, and it's because they're repeating the same story to themselves over and over about the situation. So getting insight, getting someone else's perspective, being heard, listening to your own self-talk through it, and hearing that you have some of the answers can be really powerful. The other thing is moving more. Our brains need us to move, to think differently. We have to physically act differently to get a different thing happening, which is really hard when all you want to do is sit there, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So even if it's walking, in fact, walking can be one of the most powerful things you do. That's the irony of us all walking through the pandemic. It was literally needed so desperately. It was like we finally had a chance to do it, right?
Yeah.
So really, there's a lot of power in moving, and moving regularly. And start small if you need to start small. Meditation is another powerful tool that can feel incredibly difficult to start because you're like, what? But it's giving your brain, think of it as giving your brain a rest. So what gives your brain a rest? Because burnout means you've used your brain too much doing the same thing with the same stories, with the same powerlessness, whatever. And the treatment here is doing things that give your brain a rest. And you might be like, well, exercise is not resting. Hobbies. Painting a small miniature is a meditative act. Right?
Brian, look at you.
100%.
Look at you, man.
Thank goodness I have 200 of those to paint. There's no stress at all there.
There's no stress, right? So what you got to do is only have one.
Right, in front of me. Exactly, yes.
Exactly. And then there's this big one, and this is really hard because, if you want to measure the health of yourself, your family, your community, just look at your sleep. Like, how is everybody sleeping?
Bad.
Yeah. And it's because it's that chicken and the egg problem with sleep, right? But working to improve your sleep hygiene, working to improve, really doing some things to make that better, and getting help with it if you can't do it on your own can make an enormous difference. So imagine being fatigued every day. You're going to burn out way faster than you ever would if you had rest. So I know that's a hard one because it is really hard to fix, especially when we practice certain things for years and years and years and years, that, is not great for us. But that, it impacts everything, right? Okay, so I know that doesn't sound like awesome. Everyone should go to an island in Bali and just relax for 2 weeks. I mean,
listen,
the Germans
if you want
do
to
this.
prescribe that, it makes it a lot easier for me to sell it.
Yeah, no kidding. I need my doctor to get behind this, get stoked about me going to Bali.
And medicine, it varies in various places. When we were in Sweden, we knew a family who she had, I'm going to say the wrong thing. Is it psoriasis where it's the skin?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's all crusty and weird.
Yeah. And the treatment is sunshine. And she lives in Sweden. So for 2 weeks every year, she had to go to Spain. That was her medical treatment.
Huh.
She didn't have to use the creams. Like, that was the treatment. And it was paid for because that is what she needed to have. And then in Germany, they worked a lot on these things, like 2-3 weeks recovery at like a med spa for various injuries and various emotional things. And, it's crazy to think about that. Like, Imagine that was what your doctor prescribed and you had access to that. Woo!
Yeah.
So if I had an island, people, I promise I'd let every one of you come.
It would be part of your therapy. Come to the
It
island.
would.
Yeah.
I would
To
say,
the
all right, you
island.
get 2 weeks at the island, and then we'll talk. And then at that point, you'll be like, I don't need you. And I'm like, sweet. But yeah, I don't know. It's really hard. And I think people have to have a really honest conversation with themselves, their loved ones, about how to recover. The longer and the deeper you get into burnout, the longer the recovery is.
Yeah.
Imagine shredding your ankle and then just keep, walking on it and not getting any treatment. And ankles take 2 years when you treat them well. So like you can't, this is one of those things that will get worse and will not just course correct if you get too far. Now, changing a job for this person may be a great first step in that course correction, but I would also suggest some conversations about what does it look like to protect myself a little more from some of the social breakdown of social trust that I'm experiencing within family members, or how do I take a break from that? What do I need to grieve or heal from? Like being really honest about there's work in the middle here where, we're all the same. We just hope that we change this thing and one thing and it works, right? But it usually is a combination of multiple things, because this is a multifaceted. Thank you. There's a See, I don't forget words. I'm fine.
You're a Johnson. It's fine. We got the
Dude,
blood.
I mean, boy, is that
So we've had burnout our whole lives,
Yeah.
but truly, I forget words now in a way I've never forgotten them. It's different.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, do I have COVID? I don't. But does my brain have it? Yeah, it's kind of like it does.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So recognizing that there's just so many aspects to this, and just what would you do for a loved one experiencing this if you had some of this information and knew how to help? You would do lots of things to try to benefit them. And a huge one is that social support. So, it means we have to reach out for it when we're in the one burning out. It's hard to do because you're like, well, I guess I have to just keep going, because what else do we do?
Yeah.
There's a version of keeping it going and being kind to yourself and getting yourself what you need.
Well, I agree. I will. So to compliment my co-host Brian Ibbett here, my good pal.
Sure.
I think he's way better at doing that than I am. In fact, your trip to Philly this week is emblematic of that. You guys are like, we're doing a cool thing. Me and my wife, we're getting away. We're getting, we're going to do this. I have a tendency to hunker down and be like Mr. like ready to spring. Just like I gotta be ready to roll. And Brian will take those times and like chill. At least that's my perception from the outside.
Trip, I don't know if I would if I were booking that trip this week. I don't know if I would, like if we booked this trip months ago, or I booked this trip months ago, and so it's like, yeah, we're going, we're totally going. But if I were in the process of making the decision this week, are we going or not? Then
Tina's just getting over COVID. Like it's a little bit of a weird time, but but you do know how to go to trivia night. You do know how to just stop and go, you know what? Right. I need to go do that. And you don't turtle up. I turtle up, and it's
the normalcy going on for my own sanity.
I admire that because I'm bad at giving myself that leeway, because I always feel like, well, no one else, everyone in my head, the story in my head is, well, no one else has this leeway. I can't go have fun. All I'll think about is everyone who's not having fun. And I don't think that's the right way to think about it. I think I'm wrong when I do that.
I don't know. I mean, it's a way to think about it. I don't know if there's a right or wrong way to think about it. Because
look at your outcomes. That's the way to know if your way of thinking about it is working.
Right.
Well, mine is not working, so I'm gonna try to do better at that. And we're making, we are trying to do that. One of the ways, again, would like to encourage people to join this Discord room in our Discord server on Frog Pants Discord. The Do-Gooders group was designed, or the idea came from me being sick of feeling like I can't do anything to help anybody. I hate that feeling. So you hear some horrible thing, or hear somebody say something terrible, or witness a horrible act, or whatever it is, and I'm just like, well, now what? So we thought, well, why don't we all get together and do a thing where we can at least make some small differences in our little corners. And I'm very happy with how that turned out. People are being awesome in there and doing great work. We knew they would be anyway. but it's just nice proof of that. So that's one way that I've been able to gain a little bit of that solace back. I did notice something a little bit weird. Wendi, you may be able to, I don't know, there's probably a whole subject on this, but how we manifest our internal struggles physically in the form of like pain and, you know, tightness, and our neck hurts and our headaches and all those sorts of things. I made a considered effort to just remind myself when I'm catastrophizing or think of something negative to just go and let a bunch of air out. And what that translated into in the last 2 weeks, my back stopped hurting. My sciatica stopped. I stopped getting, I stopped having like headaches. I stopped just feeling tight and uncomfortable and physically kind of strained.
Yeah.
Way more just by taking that 1 second, even if I still want to think about the stressful thing, just freaking breathe through it. Like I'm a little pissed at how easy it turned out to be, for me.
Yeah. And also you've heard people say it for literally your whole life.
My whole life. It's like, no, breathe, take a breath, do that. And I think at some point, or I don't know, maybe I'm just getting to the point where I can actually physically pull it off, because it felt a little involuntary before. I'm sure it wasn't. I'm sure I could have figured out techniques to make it better, but it felt like that stress and that stuff was involuntary. And then when I'd have like pain like that in your shoulders and your back or whatever it was then a whole nother pile of stress to say, well, what's causing that? As if they weren't related, you know, like, oh no, that must be something else, or it's because you're just getting old, or it's because you're, I don't know, you tripped down the stairs and your neck went a funny way. No, it turns out I just held myself in such a wound up freaking ball and never really just let freaking go. So that's helped a lot. If that helps anyone out there, just freaking breathe, you know?
Yeah. And there's some really amazing breath techniques you can do that are very effective at getting you to homeostasis or getting you very relaxed, or, you know, whatever. And again, it's that getting out of your head enough and becoming conscious enough of a thing you need to feel good. Can be as simple as breathing. And more times than not, it's adding some rituals to your day that sort of help you or post help you with your stress, right? So that's movement, socializing, connecting with others, doing good, you know, moving your body, whatever. And all the way to as simple as just take some really deep breaths many times a day, stand up many times a day, you know, pet an animal as frequently as you can, right? Hug a kid, whatever. Like it's sad that it's just all the simple things. But we're built to handle a lot of stress and hold it for a long time, and it kills us. It kills us eventually, just not right away. And that's because we're built to be able to do it. So yeah, that's a great one. Everyone breathe.
Okay. I'm breathing now.
I need 60 seconds here. The dog is making the whining. I've got to go out or I'm going to poop on the floor. Now.
Do it. Go.
I'll be right back.
Go get it. Go get it.
Okay, bye.
All right.
Hilarious.
Well, Wendi, good stuff as always. And I think people could, I don't know. I think even if people feel like they're sailing through this okay, they're probably not. You know, not to look. Okay, let me ask you this. If somebody at the end of this whole thing, or combine it with pandemic or political issues or a million other things, or even just this, you know, another recent shooting that just makes us feel like we're never going to get anywhere with that, whatever. If somehow someone's just like, I'm at peace. I know who I am, and I'm good, and I'm at peace. They don't exist, right? I mean, I don't want to act like I know everything, but I don't feel like those people exist. Do they exist? Or are they just faking it?
I think there's a level of what's the word? Self-delusion, or we all have it, right? And I think it doesn't always get broken. I mean, for example, we all drive around in a car. That is the biggest form of a delusion, right? That we're not at risk. Our lives aren't going to be snuffed out any second. Like it's a delusion we need to live in to function, right? And so we all have it to some extent. And I think people who are really like deflective of anything coming in and just say they feel fine, they might feel fine if they really are deflecting all those things. And this is why, so people grasp so tightly to the things they think they know, is it gives them security. right? And I don't fault anyone for that. So I do think they exist probably, but I think most people who are paying attention to anything at all, even if it's not all of it, can feel it, right? And its impact, and just like, I just don't think there's anyone not touched by it at this point, right? Like, I mean, maybe some super old people who aren't online.
Maybe, or if they're completely, deep into whatever, maybe they got dementia now and they don't, I kind of envy them in a way. It's like, oh man, at least you're not dealing with this. Like, I want to be a little kid. I want to be 3. Van has no idea.
To all this stuff. Yeah.
He has no idea. But you know what he does know? Here's the thing, though. I say that, but I know what he does know. He knows he can see it in his mom's eyes. He can feel it. He knows something's up, but he doesn't know what or how to define it or how to put a label on it. But he still feels it. So yeah, we gotta get better at like admitting that we that we're not infallible or we're not impenetrable or whatever, and then just be better at supporting each other. And then just not get defensive and back yourself in a corner and act like you got it all figured out. I don't know.
And double down. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and one of the reasons to do that, people do that, like, and this is what's so tricky, is that, there's private changes and there's public changes, that are very different. People can say, oh, kids need more, they need their parents to love them and they need access to, whatever, like whatever you want to deflect from, so you don't have to face the thing that you are into, right? Or the thing that you want to defend, and you think you have all the answers. Like, nobody has any of the answers. Like, and that's the problem, is that we just can't get to the same page very easily. But on the individual level, right? Like, if you think about it, if you can't have a conversation with a loved one, it's really hard to imagine having conversations with people you already hate,
Yeah.
And so it's tricky. Anna Sale does that podcast, Death, Sex, and Money, and she just finished a book.
She's great.
Basically, like how to have the hard conversations. And I just listened to her on a podcast, and she's just like, I don't even know.
Yeah.
Like, you can tell she's like, I mean, I'm trying, but it's just, it's so tough. And I think that's what's so hard, is that takes a lot out of us to have some of those hard conversations. So really, I mean, it's just a hard time to live. I was thinking, at kids' schools, they always do the decades things where it's like, it's the 80s now, it's the 90s. Okay, now we're the 60s. I was like, oh, one day are they going to do the 2020s? They're like, I come to school and I'm a dumpster on fire,
Right. Look, I'm a virus.
Yeah. Look, it's the worst. I'm dead people. I mean, it's so bad. I hate it so much. Anyway, yeah. So I think, when we look back at the Greatest Generation, which I love how they name themselves that, but just the idea
they did
of
name themselves that, didn't they?
They did.
Yeah.
They went through a lot of stuff.
They did.
And
they fought hard, and I appreciate a lot of it, for sure.
They did. And they did it pretty quietly. They didn't do, my advice was not the advice they got or took, right? And I think people have been through hard things collectively before. We will somehow get through. That's what I just keep saying. We can do it. But in the meantime, watch some Netflix and have some ice cream. Okay.
There we go. I love it.
Yeah.
Bake some bread.
Make some bread.
Go back to those hobbies that we picked up.
Then eat that bread, because that bread is good. Eat it. Eat that bread. All right, Wendi, always a pleasure. We'll do this again next week, and we'll see. Maybe next week we'll talk about dealing with shootings again. I don't know. I don't know what to do. I hate it. But I do like talking to you. Is there anything else you want to mention?
No, nothing. I need to go.
All right, you go do your thing. We'll see you next time. Goodbye.
All right, talk to you guys.
See you, Wendi.
Oh, I cut her off and it went guy at the end.
That's all right. You do that to everybody, and now it just becomes something that we all expect.
Yeah, may as well be people I'm related to. It's fine.
Might as well be family.
Not an issue. All right, we're gonna get out of here. But hey, Brian, Coverville, when is it?
There will be one today, as a matter of fact.
What?
Scott.
Oh my God.
Yes, celebrating the birthdays of Roland Gift, Susie Sue, and Noel Gallagher. So, Fine Young Cannibals, Susie and the Banshees, and Oasis. We'll see if we can keep all of those people from fighting with one another at twitch.tv/Coverville, 1 p.m. Mountain Time. And really it's going to be one set of Finding Cannibals and Banshees, Susie and the Banshees mixed up, and then all of the like Oasis for the last 2 sets.
Wow.
I've got a lot of Oasis covers.
Fun. I don't know if you just saw this. I guess Ray Liotta passed
away.
Ray Liotta
passed away. Yeah, exactly.
Jeez.
I didn't want to listen. Last thing I wanted to do was bring it up during Wendy's segment and have one more thing.
Let's see. He was in the Dominican Republic filming something, and died at 67 in his sleep. No foul play. No weirdness. Just died. That's how I want to go. By the way, is in my sleep. Not necessarily at 67, but.
I want to go in your sleep, too.
Yeah. Would you like to go in my sleep?
I want to go in your sleep. Mm-hmm.
Well, last time you went in my sleep, you were a head on a chair.
I was a head on a rolling chair, like an office chair or something.
Yeah, it was weird. Yeah. It's still one of the strangest things ever. Anyway, I may have to watch Goodfellas or something just to...
There we go. Watch Something Wild. That's something, a movie that a lot of people forget about. It was so damn good. Jeff Daniels, Melanie Griffith, and maybe my favorite Melanie Griffith performance of all time, and Ray Liotta. And if Something Wild is streaming anywhere, man, put that one on.
Yeah, 86. That was a while. That was an old one, but I thought it was newer than that.
The first time I ever saw Queen Latifah anywhere doing anything.
Wow. I like her, too.
Yeah. But that's one of those movies where it's like every possible bad thing that happens one right after another.
Dang, man. I guess his daughter's acting and doing some cool stuff. I have to follow her. And I also for whatever reason, I think of Ray Liotta for 2 things. I think Goodfellas, which is an amazing movie I could watch any time of the day, any time of the night. And then I always think of him having his brain eaten by... what's his name?
Hannibal Lecter.
Hannibal Lecter,
yes,
yeah.
Right. While he's alive and conscious.
Yeah, while he's there talking and trying to do stuff.
Didn't even like take a bite of his own brain.
Yeah, he ate his own brain. He fried it up and ate his own brain.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
It is rough, man. That was the one that.
So watch that fun movie.
Yeah. That's the one Ridley Scott directed, I think.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Wow.
I think it was just called Hannibal. I don't remember. Anyway, good times. Let's move on and get out of here. Patreon.com/TMS is how the show is supported. If you want to check out all the ways you can and why it's cool, check it out. Patreon.com/TMS. If you're looking for all the other things about this show that you'll ever need, all of it's listed at the website at frogpants.com/TMS. And you know what? We have a lot of things going on, so it's a lot of things in that list, but it's all there. You'll find it. Just hunt around, read the words, click the buttons. You're good. All right.
That's right.
Let's get out of here with a song. What do you got?
Yeah, we talked a little bit about Jay Funktastic a week or so ago, a couple weeks ago. He wrote in, listen, he says, Brian and Scott, I'm going to be 45 damn years old on May 28th. That is Sunday.
Jeez.
And I don't like it. Last I checked, I was 15. Could you please play any cover by my favorite band, Faith No More, to make the day go down a little easier? Thank you. And can I get a Pepto-Bismol diarrhea?
Oh, yeah, you can get this first.
Happy birthday to you.
And then you get this.
Diarrhea.
There you go.
Love it. It says, love the snow globe, signed Jay Funktastic. All right, well, Open Micers, you got to go check out his podcast, Open Micers. It's a lot of fun. I was on there a couple weeks ago, and it was such a blast. Oh, 20th is Saturday. That's right. It's 2 days from now. Tomorrow's Friday. For some reason, I thought today was Friday. Okay, how about a cover by Faith No More? This one was an easy choice, mostly because it's the song called Easy, and I'm surprised I haven't played it before on this show, but covering the song by the Commodores, made popular by Lionel Richie. Here is Easy by Faith No More.
Very nice. Okay, quick schedule note. Just a reminder, no PM tomorrow. Brian will be traveling. I'm going to do some kind of stream. Don't know what it'll be. Probably art or Carter. I don't know. We're talking about
game
stuff.
Stream or something.
Maybe a game stream. Who knows? Film Sack is happening this weekend, but it will happen on Monday. So the holiday weekend, I should say. So you'll get it on Monday after we record because Brian will be back.
Right.
And Playdate right after that, we'll be playing Among Us, hopefully with Dunaway and friends. So come
definitely
hopefully
with Dunaway and friends.
Yeah. I hope Randy hangs around too. I'm not sure what his schedule is.
Yeah, I don't know about Randy.
Yeah, he's got to move.
He's going to be
Catwoman.
playing betas of that new Warcraft game. Let
Probably.
him go do that.
Yeah, why don't you do that or go move?
Maybe we'll let him play our game if he lets us play his game.
Yeah. Move Catwoman.
I've moved Catwoman.
Okay, great. So anyway, that's the plan. Lots of other stuff in between. Core tonight at 5 p.m. Mountain. So come watch Core if you can live or get the podcast after. Got a lot to talk about with the boys tonight, so check that out. and lots of other stuff. That's going to do it. Thank you all for listening. Brian, have a safe trip, by the way.
Oh, thank you, sir.
And we'll see you guys soon.
The morning.
Shit.
This show is part of the Frog Pants Network.
Frog Pants Network.
Get more shows
Oh, I
like
needed
this
that.
at frogpants.com.
Penis pickle.
Penis pickle. Great.
Penis pickle.
I don't know what I did there. That was stupid.
That was really, really funny. Ah, nice.
Yep. When you meant to hit 4 and you hit 5. Oops. All right. Titles need to be done.
Resting brain face with Wendi.
Oh, you're so in here already. Hold on.
Plenty of cocks with Amy.
Oh, man.
How do you feel about that one?
I'm okay with it because
Okay.
contextually, if they listen, they'll get it. It's fine.
Okay, good.
I think that's fine.
I
Bad
don't
Utah
like
connection.
whizzy cheese.
That's good. I like that. I've seen its crack.
Eat it on a